Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Tuesday. Brian Kamenetzky, Andy Kamenetzky. The Lakers bounce back from a bad game in Atlanta, use big third quarter to get past Charlotte. Are they ready for Oklahoma City on Wednesday? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everyone for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network anywhere on this or presumably, Andy, any other planet. I don't know how you feel about these sorts of things, but if there is another planet, I doubt they have a sports podcast network bigger than this one. So we appreciate everybody there subscribing through Apple iTunes, subscribing through Spotify, wherever you get it. And of course, Locked On Lakers on YouTube. There are over 37,000 subscribers to the channel, are all hanging out. They're talking to each other. They're talking to us, and they are, I think, reasonably pleased with the outcome Monday night after a slow first quarter. Well, actually, a fast first quarter with no defense in it. The Lakers.
I would say the first half was pretty damn fast because
all sporting events, side note, all sporting events should go this quickly. I mean, it was really nice.
In the first half, the Lakers did not seem particularly interested in playing defense. And as we established in our preview on Monday's show of this game, the Hornets are incapable of playing defense. So when you combine those two elements together, you get a game that zips along in ways that I don't think made JJ Redick particularly happy. But if you're looking for time efficiency, particularly these East Coast games that run into like dinner and some family responsibilities, it is nice for it to zip along.
I mean, I got dinner on the table at like 7 o'clock after watching a full NBA game. It was nice. But the referees can't blow the whistle if the two teams do not go anywhere near each other defensively. Lakers did, though, after giving up a robust number of points, 40 in the first quarter, did buckle down after that. Fourth quarter got away from them a little bit, but they sandwiched that with a 23-point second quarter and a great third quarter where they only allowed 15 points. And that's where they really took control of the game. This was obviously another great night for Luka Doncic, just sort of a ho-hum 14 of 28, 5 of 5, 38 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, took care of the ball. The Lakers as a team took care of the ball, only 2 turnovers for Luka. Austin Reaves came back into the lineup. Obviously good news there. Rui Hachimura, another star of this game. So we'll break all of this down in a moment, but before that, of course, we do need to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by, who is it today, Andy?
I believe Game Time.
Game Time. Just trust me that it's brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA. I'm going off memory because I accidentally closed the window. Anyway, we'll make up for it later.
Land the plane.
It's landed. A little bumpy. Anyway, this was a game the Lakers needed to have. They didn't come out with exactly the level of defensive intensity I think everybody would have hoped to have seen, even with probably some unnaturally good shooting from Charlotte. It was not a great effort in the first quarter, but as good teams are supposed to do, they took control of the game and then kept it.
Yeah, I think the second quarter, there was still some defensive prowess and intensity and focus that left something to be desired. There was a sequence, and I'm not looking to pick on Rui. We're going to spend a lot of time, I'm sure, in the show praising Rui. I think his performance in the third quarter, I think more than anything else, broke the game open for the Lakers. His performance really on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, he was great.
But there was a sequence in the second quarter where he was ISO defensively against Miles Bridges and seemed to be actively giving Miles Bridges his left hand and the left side of the court, seemingly not remembering that Miles Bridges is left-handed. So it was as if he was actually trying to make this as easy as possible for Bridges. And it felt in depth. I mean, and Stu Lance tried to note this also in his most politically correct way as a Laker employee, hey, you might want to do this a little bit differently. But it felt endemic of the Lakers just not. They were more active. They had way more energy in the first half than they did really against Atlanta the entire game.
At any point in the game.
Right. But like, for starters, they looked like they actually wanted to play the Hornets, which was a big step up from the way they were in Atlanta. But it took them, I think, a while before they really started cranking up their focus and accountability defense. But once they did, again, that third quarter team-wide, they were great.
I look, this is, as Lakers fans, observers, like you said, like you always want the team playing a lesser opponent, which they obviously were, to do everything sort of by the book, like the way you would want a championship team to play against a bad one. You get out to a hot start. You don't let the other team think they've got a chance. You step on their necks and you do all that stuff. The reality of how most teams play through the season in terms of this stuff is, Charlotte is filled with professional basketball players. It is not crazy that they could have no, they have uniforms and everything. The idea that,
they're not currently flush with high-end NBA players.
No, I didn't say high-end, and I'm getting to that. But so Charlotte comes out and has a really good first quarter. You sort of regulate that going forward. You don't allow them to continue. You don't let them stay in the game. You build a lead. The Lakers took a lead into halftime. They stopped letting Charlotte score on every possession, which was nice. And in the third quarter, they played a really dominant third quarter, built out a lead that they never gave up. That part of it, where you get a extremely championship level effort for a quarter to put a team away, is much more the norm of how these things tend to go. And, it's a missed opportunity to get guys off the floor. And, maybe Luca doesn't have to play. If you take that, don't let that 10-point lead get down to 6 in the last minute. Luca can get off the floor a little faster and stuff like that. And over the course of the season, that matters. 38 minutes for Luca, could have been 35. And enough of that starts to pile up. But overall, I think, this was much more of the type of game that they needed. If they'd done this in Atlanta, they'd be 2-0 on the trip.
Absolutely. And look, like I said, the third quarter was fantastic, and it created enough of a cushion where Charlotte had a bit of a push in the fourth quarter. Some of it was really a sequence they went on an 8-0 run in probably 90 seconds. There was a basket followed by Jake LaRavia following Con Knipple on a 3. And then there was a botched defensive possession that left Miles Bridges open for 3. And that happened in a fury. I don't disagree with you with what you're saying about this being the natural norm for even contending teams.
Sure.
The difference, I would say, though, for this particular team, in a way that I'm not going to get upset over it, I'm happy about it. They won the game. And like I said, the third quarter, they were fantastic, and there was a lot to like in this game. I would say, though, this team needs to establish its credentials more.
Oh, for sure.
Before they could start getting into those type of habits. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Yeah, they need to have it's kind of like parents just don't understand. You're only 16. You don't have a rep yet.
Right.
They need to actually create a rep.
No, I 100% agree with that. My point in saying that wasn't that there isn't room for improvement or that there isn't a better model, for that. I just, you see a lot of frustration. Why aren't they up by 30? And sometimes you do end up by 30, but most of the time you don't. And
yeah, that's fine. They have not earned playing with their food privileges. That's
correct.
The way I would
And I think after the first quarter, they didn't. I think more or less they didn't. I thought the second quarter, they were playing with some food. I don't think so, because you look at things like turnovers. You look at things like, obviously defense is not always just, measured by how many points your opponent scores in a quarter. But I do think in the second quarter, certainly as they built, they had a strong finish to the quarter to get into the half. They turned the ship around, so to speak. They started playing with more attention, and they never got into the sort of super careless ball handling and stuff that they did in Atlanta, aside from Marcus Smart, who was
Charlotte. We'll talk about.
No, I understand. I know where you're going.
Capable of turning teams over,
and Marcus Smart tested that.
Yes, he did.
It was actually really well. I do want to spend a few minutes talking about Smart, because this was people like to talk about the Marcus Smart experience. This was all of it in one 48-minute evening in Charlotte. We'll get to it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And here's what's great about FanDuel. Even if you miss the start of a game, life's busy, whatnot, or you want to ride a hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next, it's often Luca, to fourth quarter comebacks, which thankfully Charlotte did not have in this game. Plus, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It makes every game more exciting, especially when your team, presumably the Lakers, are making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Locked on Lakers also brought to you by Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no at Mint Mobile. Their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint Mobile makes it all simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone. Keep your same number and contacts. One of the things I love about Mint Mobile, you are getting the same quality service you had before, but for a fraction of the price. And the setup is so easy. Keep your number. You're off and running in minutes. So if you're ready to say yes to saying no, make a switch to mintmobile.com/locked on NBA, so mintmobile.com/locked on NBA. Upfront payment of $45 required. It's equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for the first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. So, you look at, you got a Luka Doncic performance. I think, we talked about efficiency. Efficiency, I think, was helped with the presence of Austin Reaves, who was a little bit rusty, I think, coming back after missing 3 games, but certainly was I think a very strong contributor to this game. A little inefficient from the floor, but made it to the line 11 times, 7 of 17 from the floor, missed 8 of his 10 threes. That's really where most of this was. But he finished with 24 points because he got to the line so much. 7 assists. Again, like Luka, really took care of the ball. Only 1 turnover for Austin Reaves. He also had a pair of steals. The Lakers had 12 steals as a team, which is a lot. 7 for Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
So, that was a big thing. But honestly, for me, the guy that really turned the game, you expected from Austin, you expected obviously from Luka. Rui Hachimura continues to be absolutely insane from the mid-range.
Yeah, it's interesting. The loss to Atlanta, obviously, everything went wrong, including the Lakers seemingly disinterested in playing the game in the first place. But it was the only game where Rui has not shot above 50%, or at least 50% from the field this entire season. And while that is not the reason they lost that game, it feels emblematic of what this team often is at their best when Rui's got it going. We've talked about how he's a weird combination of very consistent, like he's been putting up very consistent numbers the last few years. He has been 50-ish% from the field, 40% from behind the arc for basically his Laker career.
Yeah.
But he also becomes an X factor for this team because when he plays well, like he often takes this team to a different ceiling, or he is a part of the team entering a different ceiling. 13 points in the third quarter, 5 of 5 from the field, 3 of 3 from behind the arc. He had 17 in the second half, 7 of 7 from the field in the second half. But he also made really good plays on the defensive end as well. There was a sequence where Kamenetzky had the ball along the perimeter. Rui made a lunge at him defensively. He lost the handle. They ended up on the ground. Jump ball. Rui tapped the jump ball to Marcus Smart, who ended up getting the offensive rebound when DeAndre Ayton missed his shot, and Smart kicked it out to Rui, 3. Then later, Rui ran, there was plays where he was running the floor. There were plays where Charlotte started to get a little bit of a push, and Rui just started hitting shot after shot after shot.
It's just,
again, from everywhere on the floor.
But it's that mid-range that is particularly automatic. He made all 3 of his threes, but it means 9 of his shots were from inside the arc. And the thing, we get to the defense too in a second, but I think one of the things that makes him so valuable offensively, and JJ points this out fairly frequently, is that he stays consistent even when he doesn't get a lot of shots, even when the time between shot 1 and shot 2 takes a while, because he isn't somebody who handles the ball on the way up the floor. He is not somebody who necessarily, who's going to put the ball on the floor and create and do all that kind of stuff. So he has to be delivered the ball. And that, if you're one of those guys, you can go stretches where you're just not touching it a lot. It does not impact his consistency as a shooter, as an offensive player. And, the discipline it takes mentally to stay connected to what's going on when you might have 4 or 5 possessions in a row where you're barely touching the ball, and certainly not touching it in a position to score. That is really valuable for what they do. And that's, aside from vastly improved defensive awareness.
Well, it's also too, I think it's reflective of how Rui's general focus has improved since joining this team. Like, it's now easy to forget, because he's been a really good Laker. When he arrived from the Wizards in that trade, he had been considered a disappointment. Rui was a top 10 pick for Washington. Obviously a lot goes bad with the Wizards, and he had some mental health stuff going on that I still don't know what it was, and he's not obligated to tell anybody, and I have no idea how much, if at all, it contributed to him asking to be traded. But he was clearly unhappy with the Wizards, and the Wizards did not do a good job developing a lot of players in Rui's era.
It's still a problem.
Right. Well, hopefully it'll start getting a little bit better.
Because they got some really intriguing young players.
Yeah,
you'd like to see it stop.
You can see the benefit of structure with Rui. Like, he's not a perfect player, and he still will have lapses, but he has grown much more just focused and intentional, particularly defensively on both sides of the ball. We've talked before about, and so far I think we're seeing it, why Rui was a great test case for optimism with DeAndre Ayton. And just like the idea of what can happen when somebody with obvious talent, but often in the wrong setting, shows up somewhere that's more serious with better players and more team-wide aspirations. It's big time with Rui. And again, I thought he was maybe the key to really getting the Lakers on track to where they could control this game.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think what's fun, you can look at certain guys and be like, gosh, improve these 3 things that you're not good at. Rui averages like a 10th of assist a week. It's not his strong suit. Not that he's selfish. He's just, it's not his deal. It's not his jam. He is a very large human who is not a good rebounder, for his size, for his athleticism, also not his jam. And when you put those 2 things together, it's really important that, but what he has, though, improved his defense. So he's taking one thing that was a negative and putting it in the positive. And it makes it really important, though, that he does the things that he does well consistently well. And that's the thing this season. It's like Ayton is another good example. You can drive yourself nuts waiting for the day that DeAndre Ayton becomes somebody who draws a lot of fouls and gets to the line. There's a good chance if DeAndre Ayton has a 20-point game, it's because he's got 9 field goals, 8 at the minimum. And you're okay. It would be better if DeAndre Ayton drew more fouls. It would be. It would be better if Rui Hachimura was a good rebounder. He is not. But what he is very good is at the things that he's good at. And the Lakers have an architecture where they can take advantage of it. And then Rui has compensated by saying, okay, I'm not good at these things, but I have improved in this other really important space. Ayton so far this year hasn't fixed a lot of the other stuff, but you know what's been consistent? That motor that everybody talks about that I don't have, that part I've controlled that, and there's an area where I've made some improvement. Another guy, Andy, who was all over this game was Marcus Smart, and it was fascinating to watch, and we'll get to it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Game Time. Basketball season, obviously, it is here, baby. And there is nothing that beats being in the arena for these opening games. But getting tickets, give me a headache between waiting in queues, the surprise fees, prices that jump like right in front of your eyes as you're checking out. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on, I'm guessing, the Lakers.
Jumping like Luka Doncic on his dunk on Monday. He dunked, Andy.
We need to talk about that. This is where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's the ultimate hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets, fast, easy, and stress-free. I love that what you see is what you pay. There's no hidden fees. The zone deals allow you to pick the section. Game Time picks your seats. You save big, and you can even find NBA tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go.
Locked on Lakers also brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match, and with Robinhood, you play for the win. Not just on game day, every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood Strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Real quick, before we get into Marcus Smart, I am very pleased that other people in the chat, Andy, who were watching this game, listening to it perhaps on the radio, also giggled every time somebody said Knipple. I just, in my brain, because I am a 7-year-old, just kept thinking he said nipple.
It's, you know what? It's not even dirty. I mean, it's a
no. Nipple's a funny word,
but
nipples are funny things, and they are funny words.
If he actually falls down on the ground, it's a knip slip.
It is.
I'll be here all week.
That's for free. That's for free for them.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Knip slip. Yep. There you go. You mentioned too.
I have nipples. Can you milk me,
Luca? If we want to jump to huge conclusions about Austin, we talked about Austin Reaves coming back. Just will make Luca's life easier, help him preserve some energy. He is 1-for-1 for dunks in games where Austin Reaves comes back. Look at the energy Luca had. He was throwing down dunks.
Do you know how many dunks Luca had to this point as a Laker?
I believe this was number 1.
This was his first dunk as a Los Angeles Laker. And by the way, only his third dunk since the 24-25 season.
Luca has something like 75 dunks to his NBA career, and I want to say about 25.
74. Yeah, well, no, now 75. The game, it's been updated.
Right, and I want to say like
74.
25. Yeah, I want to say like 25 came in his rookie year.
25 came in his rookie year, 14, then 11, then 7. Then he found some hops in 22, 23 with 12. And since then, he has remained low to the ground, which, by the way, Andy, is where he should stay. I don't need Luka jumping. The Anthony Davis experience, where every time he left the ground, he ended up on the floor. It was horrible. Luka, I don't even want Luka to jump, really. Just stay on the ground. It's fine. Marcus Smart was a lot in this game. He had 7 steals. He was enormously disruptive. At the same time, while his steal to turnover ratio ended up being relatively favorable, that is only because, as you noted going into the game, as you mentioned in the first segment, Charlotte's not very good at stealing the ball because Lord knows Marcus Smart tried to let them have some opportunities.
I tweeted during the game at Cam Brothers, if the Lakers, instead of being coached by JJ Redick, were coached by Marcellus Wallace, Ving Rhames' character in Pulp Fiction, he would have told Marcus Smart, you lost all your passing privileges. Like, his passes and it's weird because he had 6 assists. It's not like
no, there were some decent ones in there, but
there were some decent ones, but there was also some where it was like, are you trying to turn the ball over? Like, there were a few where it felt like Marcus Smart was actively trying to turn the ball over.
Right. And to be clear, I don't think he was.
No, like, there was a few. I'm like, are you actually seeing if you can roll the ball to a teammate without Charlotte turning it up? Like, the Marcus Smart experience, he has such a rational confidence that is equal parts inspiring, terrifying, infuriating, and kind of adorable. Like,
you know what a lot of those passes reminded me of, like from a visual standpoint, to your point, is the scene in Star Wars where they're on the ship and the Empire is invading, and C-3PO and R2-D2 have to cross one side of the hallway to the other, and they just sort of go, and there's laser fire going backward. They kind of make it. That was like half of Smart's passes were R2-D2 and Luke and C-3PO just sort of going while the lasers were firing everywhere around them.
Yeah, the ball, I guess, was the lasers, but it was just
I don't know what was. It was just crazy,
but he was really important in this game. Like, he was net positive for sure,
and brings energy and a defensive integrity and a defensive intensity, and a little bit of scoring when guys are off the floor. Like, we talked about this for Monday's show. Like, I don't love him doing point guardy stuff, but he can obviously pass a little bit, and he is a decent, like, don't over rely on it, but he can put the ball on the floor and get to the basket. His 3-point shooting, is streaky, but when it's on, it can be valuable. Like, he is not a totally one-dimensional player. And he offers, I think when LeBron comes back, given how Rui is playing on both sides of the ball, Smart will go back to the bench, but he's going to play a huge part on this team all year long. And you can already see how he has influenced the culture, in terms of how they play on the floor.
Well, he's like DFS last year in that he showed up very much confident in his ability to be a voice in the locker room, in his ability to set a tone with a new team. Like, in the same way DFS, it was very clear, was asked to do that stuff. Like, JJ knew DFS from their time together as teammates in Dallas. JJ wasn't there long, but this was something that DFS has a reputation for, and he was not in any way uncomfortable to lend his voice to the mix. Marcus Smart has never been uncomfortable with that. But the difference is, after the last couple seasons of being part of a dysfunctional Grizzlies team and an irrelevant Wizards team, where I'm sure he tried to mentor some young kids, but there's nothing to lead there, like in terms of tangible basketball.
No, and they didn't want him to do it because they were that if he led too well, they might win.
Right. But here, that voice combined with that edge, and he's like the A-list Jared Vanderbilt. Like, Vando does a lot of similar things that Smart does, but Smart does them better, certainly on both sides of the ball, and with more, he's got more credentials. Like he's got more bona fides.
He's a significantly better player.
Yeah.
And I like Vanderbilt, but and when Vando is contributing, it really is noticeable. But then there are games like Monday where, whether it's just not the sort of the flow of it, Vando statistically was extremely quiet. He played 16 minutes. He had 1 assist, 1 rebound, 4 fouls. So that's not great. But like, I like that they are in a position this year, at least for the time being, where they don't need to rely on Vanderbilt to provide that, because while he is a defender with a lot of intensity and energy when he's healthy, he is not as complete a defender as Smart is. And then, the total lack of versatility offensively becomes problematic. It makes him harder to use. Smart is not, going to be confused with Luca at any point in a game, but he doesn't limit
only by
you.
Marcus Smart.
He doesn't limit you in the ways that Vanderbilt does.
No,
when they get to the playoffs, Andy, they're going to have to guard Marcus Smart.
No, Marcus Smart has been a great addition so far to this team. Like
they really need to keep him healthy.
Yeah, they need to keep him healthy. They need to keep him in the starting lineup when LeBron comes back. I suspect they will. I suspect Rui will move to the bench, and they will go out of their way to make sure Rui gets shots and opportunities for a reserve unit that frankly needs a lot of punch. We saw it tonight. The bench was, in terms of production, non-existent. 6 points from Jake LaRavia, 3 from Dalton Connect, who I'm going to double check now. I think he got benched in the second half.
He didn't. I don't think he played in the second half.
He played 3 seconds.
Okay. He lost the Knuckle to Knipple.
Well, we talked about that before. He's Con Knipple is thus far the A-list Knut.
Do you think that's in Connect's head? Like he used to be the dominant Kana, and now he's not.
I mean,
he's cannot.
Look, man, there's a lot of emotions for Dalton. First time facing his old team. It's difficult being in that building.
When he hit that first 3, I didn't have my computer in front of me. I wanted to find it. Like revenge game.
Oh, I was wondering, did he get a thank you video? That would have been fantastic.
Probably cannot.
Probably cannot. But yeah, I mean, Dalton had a few decent plays in this game.
It's not that it wasn't that he was terrible, but like they went in another direction in the second half, and he is yet to. The thing about it is, when you're in the situation he's in, he has to do something sort of to elevate himself above the guys who are getting that time, and he's not doing it yet. And he's uniformly terrible. He's just not.
No, and I actually thought Jackson Hayes played well off the bench, but
I agree.
He cannot be the guy you're counting on to score. Like, he just can't be. It
is a bad situation to put him in. You want to deploy Jackson, scientifically and surgically for, 10 to 15 minutes a game, which is basically the position that he's been in, and he's played that role really well this year.
Agree.
All right. The big marquee event of the road trip is coming up on Wednesday. Lakers visiting the Thunder. So tomorrow's show will get you ready for that game. Locked On Lakers on YouTube, so we can hang out with over 37,000 subscribers. Do leave us questions and comments. We read them every day, and they inspire us often with the content we're doing, particularly on non-game days. So we will see everyone tomorrow.